Fast forward to Renaissance Italy and Bologna. Home to a surgical pioneer who would try a rather different approach to nasal reconstruction. In 16th century Bologna, there was not only an explosion of art and science, but disease. Syphilis, a hideous sickness that is thought to have been imported from South America. It turned its victims into social pariahs, identified as moral degenerates by their lack of a nose. But here at the University of Bologna Medical School, a radical new treatment was about to emerge. The man who inspired it was Gaspare Tagliacozzi. His declared mission was to bring back, refashion and restore to wholeness the features which nature gave but chance destroyed. Tagliacozzi experimented with all kinds of facial reconstructive surgery, but in particular, noses. His method for repairing nasal collapse was based on work originally done in Sicily, and it was inspired. Plastic surgeon Paolo Santoni Ruggiu has studied how he did it.
They made 2 parallel incisions.
Blimey, did that hurt?
Well,
no,
yes, yeah, but it was very quick, you know, just like this.
Just like that.
Then he undermined the skin so it was loose.
Right.
So he had something like this. That
Okay.
was the pedicle. After 2 or 3 weeks, it attached to the nose.
All right. How?
Like this.
Cool.
Like
Okay.
this, yeah.
Very complicated, isn't it?
Very complicated and not very comfortable. The blood supply was coming from the lower pedicle, but
Yep.
also through the scar,
On the
which
nose.
was going to be produced on the nose.
Right, so he's got to wait for the blood supply to regrow in the nose bit before he can cut off the arm bit.
Yes.
Before your new nose could be reconstructed, you had to hold your arm like this for at least 2 weeks. Fortunately, Tagliacozzi had an answer: a surgical straitjacket. His design is lovingly detailed in this 16th century illustration. To find out what happened next, I've come to Bologna's magnificent Biblioteca Scientifica. In here is a copy of Tagliacozzi's 1597 masterpiece, the first ever book on reconstructive surgery. And it clearly shows the next stage of the Italian nose job.
Yeah, well, here you can see, here is
Yes.
the third operation where the flap is attached to the nose, and you can recognize the
Indeed,
awful position. So after 2 or 3 weeks, you separate the flap and the nose from the arm.
Yep.
You remove this apparatus, and you will have this piece of skin hanging from the nose, and you leave this flap hanging.
It's not a very attractive looking nose at the
It's
moment.
not very attractive nose. Once you start the modeling is done mainly with splints.
Yep.
And this lasts at least 2 months.
Does he have a final picture showing a happy patient at the end? Oh, yes.
Here is it.
Hurrah. Young man,
Of course,
looking very pleased.
you can see the scar, but it's
Yep.
hidden inside here.
And a very pretty nose, no?
And the nose is pretty.
It certainly shows the power, doesn't it, of a picture, because if I was a patient and the doctor came and showed me that, I would go, yes, please. But the reality probably was not as spectacularly good as that. But it certainly had a big impression, this book.
Oh, yeah. It's still, today, certainly it was for sure until 25 years ago, the main method of repair to transfer skin from one part of the
Right.
body to another.
I didn't realize it.
The start of modern plastic surgery is this.
But Tagliacozzi's fame was short-lived. When he died 2 years later, his reputation collapsed. The Italian Church summoned its religious investigators, the Tribunal of the Inquisition. Because Tagliacozzi had modified the human face, he was accused of interfering with God's will. Although posthumously exonerated, stories persist that his bones were dug up and dumped on unconsecrated ground.